Welcome to it, Friday edition here of the Average Joe Sports Show. We're still in Missouri as the Average Joe Road Show continues to kick off Nebraska football 2025. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Big thanks to Rob the Suit for making sure we didn't wreck the vehicle, getting us on the air. Hope you're doing all right here on the Average Joe Show. We'll get our shout-outs going on the stream and be ready for more Nebraska reaction and thoughts to you with this Nebraska-Cincinnati survival ball game that happened last night at Arrowhead. I don't know how you're feeling or doing today, how late you were up when it comes to closing that thing out as a Nebraska fan. Maybe some of you have made the trek back or you're working your way back up 29, but Elijah, a good percentage of the state made their way down to Arrowhead. That was a sight to see. Thumbs up again to Nebraska fans for their travel. We are still traveling. We're thankful to be here at Oakwood Country Club and the Average Joe listener, Trevor, hooking us up here. So we're kind of back in the corner, getting not quite stared at, but some waves. And it's quite a mix here. You've got Missouri, K-State, KU, all sorts of golf gear branded with other schools, and no Nebraska gear. That's okay, though. You know what? Win some more ball games. Maybe Nebraska will make their way on a country club polo. But we're down here just outside of Kansas City at Oakwood Country Club, and what a marvelous, beautiful course.
My goodness.
The best way to compare it to last night with how Elijah and I played, it was pretty simple. It was a situation where the run defense of Nebraska was me and Elijah, and the course was Cincinnati's run game. Probably a little too soon for that, but we'll check in. Brian Christopherson going to join us here with Husker 24/7 Sports BC in about 15 minutes. Pride of Fairbury back for more. Bill Doleman going to join us at 5 o'clock, and then he's imaginary and he wears red. Clauborne for a full Friday forecast. A lot to get to with this upcoming season for Nebraska and reactions, knee-jerk reactions that maybe have cooled a little bit. And where are you at as a Nebraska fan? Are you not so worried because they're going to make a jump week 1 to week 2, plenty of time before Michigan, or are there some storm clouds with where this season can go based on what you saw last night? Actually, how do you rate Cincinnati? Let's just start there. What do you think of the Bearcats, right? How does their season go? You know what's funny? And you've had so many folks chime in over the years with what it could, it should is with Nebraska in those waning moments, specifically with some play calls or some decision making. And right now, Cincinnati fans got to be a little frustrated with Satterfield and the Bearcats. They were in field goal range at the end of that ball game last night. Not an easy kick, but a doable kick. And they went downtown. They went and tried to win it, even though it was technically a Cincinnati home game, on the road. They went for the win on the road last night.
Well, yeah, if you're Coach Satterfield, you got to be asking some questions of your AD about how that whole neutral site setup went down.
Not coming off a 4-win season. You just are happy the AD hasn't changed the old entry code.
You say, hey, I hope that ticket revenue was worth it, man, because you could make a strong argument that the Husker fan base, which is one thing we didn't talk about last night, the Husker fan base played a part in that win with some of the false starts that they drew. So if you're Nebraska, thank you, Cincinnati Athletic Department, for allowing that game to be at Arrowhead. But yeah, the question moving forward is going to be, and I said it last night, I'll say it again, is that you don't take conclusions from a first game. You take observations from a first game. And an observation is that Cincinnati team, I think with their lines of scrimmage, they could be a tough out in the Big 10, or the Big 12, I should say. They need a little more depth along their defensive line, I think. When Corleone was off the field, their defense kind of changed how they played the game. Offensively, though, their offensive line I thought was pretty solid. They had a really good left tackle performance. The left guard was shaky. I think he let the crowd environment get to him just a little bit, but the center and right guard were both pretty solid. The right tackle was pretty solid. I'll be curious to see how their season goes, because if they remain that physical, if it isn't just a Nebraska issue, if they are just a solid offensive line, that team's going to be a tough out with, as well as Sorsby runs the ball, the two running backs that they have. Physicality is always going to be at a premium in football, and that was a physical football team. They were ready to rise to that challenge. So if you're a Husker fan, you're sitting at home hoping that the Cincinnati Bearcats are a player in the Big 12 this season, and I think they will be. Maybe not 10-2, but they definitely are ready to take another step. I think it's probably the most talented team that Coach Satterfield has put on the field at Cincinnati, and it's credit to Nebraska that they were tested last night and they were able to come out with the win. A lot of areas to improve upon if you're Nebraska, but a win's a win, and the way in which you do it can inspire a little glimmer of hope moving forward that, hey, maybe this Nebraska team is different, but they do need to get a lot better quick.
Well, what you're going to take from last night, aside from 1-0, is confidence, right? You're going to be a confident football team moving forward that you can finally slam the door, and Nebraska had chances to do that up 10 twice and didn't get it slammed. Finally got it shut and locked it with Malcolm Hartzog Jr.'s interception. Stream us and find us on the Average Joe Sports Show, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and be sure to check out Twitter, AJ Sports Radio. Give that a follow. Find Elijah on Twitter at Herbal Essence, at Schmidt_radio. It's where you can follow me and get other things locked in with that. Tomorrow, the weekend edition commences. It was good to see Cranack and Dolman last night. We'll rendezvous along with the Iron Horse, 7:45-ish, and Brandon Vogel tomorrow on YouTube with the Average Joe Sports Show. And back at you for Sunday Live at 10:30, so plan accordingly. Get our shout-outs here with the starting five. We talked a ton about the atmosphere. A lot of you maybe were a part of last night's atmosphere at Arrowhead. And, what is Cincinnati? That's one question and discussion point today. Two, a season of potential just 48 hours ago. You had, and you can still have high hopes with Nebraska football. Things can be all right. You look at one of the teams that went all the way, and I'm not saying that's Nebraska, but a team that survived by the hair on their chinny chin was an Ohio State team probably about 20-plus years ago, where they found ways to win ball games with maybe scoring point totals in the teens. And that Ohio State national championship team was loaded. The team that beat Miami got the pass interference call in the end zone. You know the story there, but that Ohio State team never considered among the greats, but they were the champions under Jim Tressel that beat one of the greatest teams in college football, those Miami Hurricanes of 2001. Ohio State survived a lot of one-score games against a lot of average teams when you look at the recruiting rankings, but they found ways to win. So we go a season of potential. Does that transition now to a season of survival? Maybe that's how this season will go for a Nebraska team that ends up pushing it towards an 8, 9, 10 win total. I'm not sure I can get there based off of one game, but there's more games to play, and a team that I believe will get better under Matt Rule as the season progresses. But it is based on this schedule that folks air quote call manageable. Well, you managed to find a way to win last night, but you still have some potential landmines on this year's schedule, even at Memorial Stadium. This team's got to get better to be able to compete in those.
Well, and it's not an uncommon story to have teams that end up being pretty good that learn a lot about themselves in the first couple weeks. I know it was Josh Pate on Twitter yesterday referenced Oregon's team last year. No, I'm not saying Nebraska is anything like Oregon's team last year, but Oregon snuck past Idaho in week 1 of the season at home. 24-14 was the final score, and they needed to put together a fourth quarter to go win that football game. And then they escaped against Boise, which Boise ended up being a pretty good football team.
Very good.
Were they good enough to, I think, give Oregon the scare that they got? Maybe not, but that was still a very, very solid Boise team, and Oregon only beat them 37-34. So that Oregon team had to learn a lot about themselves. They had an offense that needed to gel with a new quarterback with some new faces coming in. They were able to do that as the season went on. As you flip around and kind of go a little more micro, I think Nebraska's front 7 and front 4, they got to gel. I think Coach Butler needs to find the right way to get those guys all set to go, to get them playing together and understanding, hey, these are the calls that are going to work for them. These are the calls that aren't going to work for them. That being said, you got the win. And it's always better to get learning lessons than a win. But the defensive line, they got to get better in a hurry. Is it something schematically you have to change? Is it just finding the right personnel and the right combination of personnel to put out there? I don't know. But if a Cincinnati team is rushing for 200 yards on you, if you don't get better quick, they won't be the only team that runs for 200 yards against you this season if you don't make improvements, whether it be schematically or personnel-wise.
That is Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt, some of the crew here from Oakwood Country Club going to check out. We're joined by a gallery. Shout out to the fellas here. And Average Joe Trevor that was kind enough to get us here. They are fist pumping. A lot of Nebraska fans here that play way better golf than we do. I mean, they let's just say we'll need to go to confession Sunday for some of the language.
I think they were Nebraska's offense yesterday against Cincinnati, tested at times, but they still look solid out here today, where we were Nebraska's defense, which was, oh boy, there were a lot of warning signs throughout the day.
8.2 per carry in the second half, or the back nine.
Yeah.
It was not good. We'll get the starting five shout-outs here in the stream. Uncle Jimmy checking in, says, well, I thought for sure they would blow it. Uncle Jimmy, I don't want to ask how much Morgan and diet was consumed last night, but perhaps a lot. Nebraska fans, kudos to the Big Red faithful, because there was so many, opportunities for recycling last night with all those beer cans that were crushed. And all the trash bags that were gathered up. Nebraska fans picked up after themselves, but a lot of recycling. Kramer from Seinfeld is drooling right now. Anonymous is in. Says if we have any hopes of beating Michigan, the crowd better be crazier than a drug-sniffing dog at a York Walmart parking lot. Wow, Anonymous.
Personal experience there?
Well, I think, when we adopted Gertie the German Shepherd, I think she probably got booted out of drug dog school.
She didn't alert. She just took it.
Well, she just wags her tail. That's the problem. You're supposed to give me some other sign than asking for treats. Ed Foley back in the stream. Big Ten rushing teams are licking their chops after watching that soft run defense last night. Arlo is here. Mike checking in, says it's one game. No one's looked great. Let's be happy with a W. I think that's absolutely factual. Be happy with it. It didn't go the other way. And Uncle Larry checking in as well. We have TJ in, Jeff Snitley, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty. Kudos to Jeff and the crew for an amazing tailgate. Jeff and Brian, it was fabulous. Those pork belly burnt ends.
Incredible.
That were just, they need to be sold more often, or at least made more often. Tuck is here. Jack is in. NASCAR Eric, good to have you, dude. Thanks for coming in. Along with Duck, and Casper is here. +2, so we've got that going for us. Let's talk turnovers, right? Opportunistic. As much as you can sweat about the defense, Vincent Shaver's incredible play right before the 4-minute mark of that second quarter, the middle eights, as Matt Rule talks about. Shavers set up Nebraska, big-time play there, and Hartsock again making the critical interception. That was nice. Captain said my prediction was 38-13. It was trash. Captain, I'm sure you'll give us some winners for an amazing weekend of football.
But one thing that gets lost in the turnovers, and don't discount this, was Nebraska's offense did a pretty good job not putting the ball in danger. There was a couple moments that made you a little scared.
There was one tipped ball that spilled some drinks.
And there was the one time where Dane Key was turning upfield, and he lost the ball briefly before corralling it and going down for a first down. And then the Raiola pass on fourth down where he was under pressure and he put it into harm's way, and that thing really should have been a pick six if it wasn't dropped.
Bonner fumbled forward out of bounds.
Mm-hmm. There was some moments there where
Bonner
you
too.
go, it could have been worse, but you have to look at the end of the day and say, well, you didn't actually end up turning the ball over. You win the turnover differential. I wasn't overjoyed with what I saw there, but I was happy the fact you didn't turn the football over. You did win the turnover battle. There's improvements to be made. I think you're glad Cincinnati didn't take advantage of some of those errors, but you did win the turnover differential, and that's what we've been yelling about for years, that you got to go out and do, and it's one of the reasons why you won the football game last night. You won the turnover battle, and you won the special teams battle. When was the last time Nebraska's done that? So
Well,
you can feel a little positive about that while saying it still needs to get better.
Say this too: you're 2-0 in one-score games in your last two. If you go back to the Boston College game, Black Hills Brennan checking in. He and Bruce from Spearfish sent a nice thumbs up as they were checking out Real Red Reaction last night. Black Hills Brennan says the defensive scheme looked pretty vanilla. Don't recall much stunts. Going to need a solid 4 to 5 man bigs package for heavy run teams. That's a good call. Rocco checking in as well on the stream. Brian Christopherson in the waiting room. KG, the broken rule, is is checking in as, on the stream as well. Tiger Shark, good to have you. Brian also here with us on the stream along with Tim. So we'll spend some time with Brian Christopherson, get BC's take. It was good to see him last night at Arrowhead as BC, great work, along with Schaaf and Brunsey, of course. We'll talk a little more. Nebraska, Cincinnati, the Huskers are 1-0 as the Average Joe continues.
Back in 10 seconds here. Let's rock and roll.
Back with you. Roadshow continues for the Average Joe Sports Show. Oakwood Country Club is where we're at. Chris Schmidt.
Absolutely spectacular.
It is. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. There's pickleball. We can play at halftime if you want.
The largest putting greens I have ever seen in my life. Beautiful course. That par 3 was immaculate.
They have a par 3 along with their 18 that are
modeled after some of the famous.
They're modeled after the famous, the who's who of par 3s around the world with the majors and other incredible courses. Brian Christopherson may set a course record when he plays here. We welcome in BC to talk a little Husker football recap from Arrowhead. BC, how you doing? How much coffee have you consumed today?
4 to 5 cups. That's about average, though. So, yeah, just keeping pace, basically.
No, that's a good call. You got to have it. You got to have a little caffeine. And Nebraska woke up when it mattered a couple of times to take the football away from Cincinnati. BC, just a reaction to Nebraska, the win. I know Nebraska fans breathing a sigh of relief, but there's still a little bit of, it wasn't maybe what every Nebraska fan wanted, despite the win. That's the most important thing Husker Nation's there for. But it got tight. The good news is they found a way to hang on.
Well, I've been on a lot of road trips with Husker football, long trips back home after defeats, and games kind of like last night's that went the other direction. And so I was talking to Bruns about this, my coworker, on the way back today. I guess I'm in that mode now where I've had enough of those where when Nebraska does pull one out of the fire and they make the play at the end of the game, you're sort of appreciative of that. And they'll say, like, okay, now can this be a team of steady progress from week to week? That's how college football is decided. Not everybody's going to be the same in November as they are the first week. Some teams will be the same. Some teams will get worse. And then there's going to be those that climb steadily. And I think Matt Rule, if people paid attention to his press conference, has said that's sort of got to be this group. That's got to be every group, but especially with the young D-line and some of the players they are using in this system. They knew that this was just the first chapter, and each chapter's got to get progressively better. So it's a starting point. There was a lot of flaws, obviously, they'll see on film, but to be 1-0 in week one in college football, you take it. It's a weird week. It happens everywhere. Even the scores last night, they weren't the most marquee games, but like Minnesota, Buffalo is like a 23-10 game. There's just sort of these 17-0, I think, was Wisconsin's score. It's these games that don't knock your socks off, but you got to find a way to survive sort of the parts of your game that aren't all in check yet.
Yeah, and I think there's a good amount of areas, BC, where Nebraska needs to make some improvements quick, and I'm particularly looking at the defensive line before Michigan comes to town. Before we get to the negatives, though, I do want to talk about Dylan Raiola and his performance last night. We made a lot this offseason about what the year two jump would look like for Raiola. Do you think we saw a year two jump from Raiola last night? I thought there was some things he improved upon, some areas where he still needs to improve. That's a standard week one performance. You're never going to be polished week one. Mm-hmm. But what did you make of the performance as a whole that he put together on the field?
I thought he played a pretty mature game, like his head coach said. He sort of played the hand he was dealt with that defensive scheme that Cincinnati had, played pitch and catch for 6-7 yards here and there. I know everybody, and I wrote about it this morning, would love to see more explosives. They only had one play of 20-plus yards. That was an Isaiah Hunter 24-yard catch. There were some opportunities missed. I'm sure he'll see a couple on film. I think like the Cortez Mills had a catch across the middle where I think if it's on stride, he maybe runs a ways. And so there's those sort of plays he'll probably look back and see opportunities in. And he got away with one that honestly should have been a pick six. So he had one or two plays like that were a little questionable, but I thought for the most part he played a smart game in probably what was a difficult game for a competitor where you do at times probably want to force the action a little bit more than they did. But he stayed true to sort of the plan, and it was enough to get out of there with the win. And, I think you saw too the prowess and possibilities of guys like Isaiah Hunter and Dane Key, and now you got to take the next step with them.
Brian Christopherson with us here on the Average Joe Sports Show. Of course, BC with Husker 24/7 Sports, him, Brunsey, and Schaaf. They are doing a daily morning pod for you, along with the Hypecast to check out and add to your favorite playlists. BC, you mentioned it right, maturity, and you didn't force anything really You didn't get reckless on offense with I about said Iowa State with what Cincinnati was doing last night with their coverage. You really kind of had to nickel and dime, didn't you? I mean, that was just the way you were going to move the ball, and there were spurts of it. Nebraska would get in rhythm for 3, 4, 5, 6 plays, and in typical fashion, you get knocked off on a first down, or there's a negative play to make it a 2nd and 11. It really derailed you, and Nebraska didn't have that many opportunities to get 3rd and longs. But I liked how Nebraska started out. I liked the game plan and what Dana was able to go to, not only on that 4th down touchdown, but how they set the tone, at least for a stretch there in the second quarter, chewing up time and converting 3rd downs.
The second quarter is what I think both sides of the ball, when they look at this tape, they're obviously going to, I'm sure, have segments where it's like, okay, these are the things we've got to get right that obviously need repair work. And then there was that frame, the second 15 minutes of this game, and I think Kyle Kunanen's kick was kind of big in a way because it felt like it reset things, because I felt like the whole team was just jittery. Like, it just felt like in the first quarter, like they're a little, they were nervous. It was a nervous team, I thought. And he made that kick. It kind of reset things. And then they had that drive that was 16 plays. Of course, it was the Pritchett false start drive. But I think you saw there patience, but also some innovation and stuff they did. They brought in Lenhart at fullback. They did some different formation stuff that was interesting. And that was a good example maybe of what this offense can be going forward. So you got to take things like that and just use it as the foundation and say, now we take the next step the next week from what it was here. And then you keep doing that each week. And hopefully by Michigan, you're in a pretty good place. I thought it was an okay day by the offense, and that's where I'd leave it. It was just sort of that, and it was enough to get out of there with the win. And there's going to be some teams that played just okay this first week, and they don't get out of there with the win. So that's where you kind of say, okay, I'll take that, and let's go back to work.
BC, what's your concern with the defensive line? 200 yards rushing to Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati, you knew the game plan. Satterfield wanted to run the football. I thought that the defensive line could step up and turn Cincinnati into a passing team. They had to do it on the final drive. Malcolm Hartzog makes a play. It's why you win the football game. But throughout that game, they were pretty dominant on the ground. What's your take on what that defensive line can be as you look ahead to a matchup with Michigan coming here in a couple weeks?
Well, you're going to need some guys to just make, I don't want to say massive steps week to week. I think it's just got to be a gradual progression that's possible to obtain. But like Riley Van Poppel's got to get a little bit better. Elijah Judy's got to get better. Jalen George, you think about his situation. I was just watching it back when the game was 20-10 and Cincinnati had that drive where they really had Nebraska on skates, with its tempo. I thought George looked a little gassed. He was like asking out of the game. And you think about his situation through the offseason, like he was in the green jersey up until a couple weeks before the first kickoff. And so there's guys like that are going to build up stamina and hopefully get better. And they're all going to have to come along at the same time. There were some encouraging things here and there. I thought Keona Davis had moments. The first series or two, I was nervous for them because I didn't feel like they had a good grip on it. And then Keona stepped up. There was a play on about Nebraska's 30-yard line late first quarter where he smacked it down for no gain. And it was sort of that first like standing up to the opponent type of deal by that D-line. And so they've got it in them. They've got talent. But I think the skepticism or the question marks that we kind of had throughout the offseason, we probably saw on the field why that was the case, why we've talked about it so much for 8 months. And it's going to be a work in progress. And so they just got to be one of those units that when we say this about units in football, it's like, man, they're way different in November than they were when September started. And that's what they've got to be.
When you talk about the exhaustion factor that kind of permeated through the defensive line late in that game, let's flip it around and talk the offensive side of the football. Emmett Johnson was a different running back in the second half than what we saw in the first half. Not that he was bad, but he didn't have the production that you saw in that first and second quarter especially. Do you think he was getting exhausted whenever you have two guys behind him that really didn't amount to much? And they're young in their career, not to say they're not going to step up, but do you think what we saw in the second half was a tired Emmett Johnson?
I think he had taken quite a beating in that game. I mean, he took some hard hits too, like a low, high. There, every sort of hit it felt like he took in that game. The thing I'll give Emmett a lot of credit for is prior to that last offensive possession going sideways, it was like a 3rd and 2 run, and he got like 3 yards. It wasn't like the biggest on the stat sheet, but he went in the middle, made a nice little cut, got to the sticks, and I thought that was a real gamer type of play by him. And to have 32 touches on the night to take that pounding, it kind of shows he's an all-in type of guy. But yeah, they're going to need the other guys to come along as this season goes. However, I will say this, Elijah, I kind of thought that this would be an eyes on Emmett game. I wrote it like a week ago. It's like, I know we've talked about Mackay and Mosey for good reason, and we're going to talk more about them, I think, the next 2 weeks. These are games where those guys and some of these young players can really grow and probably get more reps. But you have this deal where you're playing a power conference team right off the bat. You do have to survive it in a way. You kind of have to have your veterans take on maybe more weight that first week, get through it, find a way to get a win. And then in these other games, hopefully you can get some distance on your opponents, and these guys can get some snaps and start to build some confidence. But I thought Emmett played a pretty good game. He'll have a run or two. I think he'll see that he could have maybe there was one I thought early where if he would just cut right, he might have taken it to the house. I'm sure there's always those he sees back, but he had a nice game.
Brian Christopherson with us. Follow him on Twitter at Husker247BC. Of course, the daily pod dropping with the Husker 24/7 sports dudes. They are incredible. And BC, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy some football. About 30 seconds here. What game you most excited to see this weekend?
Oh, I guess it's Texas, Ohio State, but I'm interested to see Belichick kind of when we get to that on Monday, just like what that looks like. Florida State, because there's that Nebraska connection or whatever you want to call it, and see what they have, with some of those guys who were here. So, but yeah, Texas, Ohio State probably has my most attention. Colorado tonight. I'm interested to see what they do against Georgia Tech and what life is like after Shador for them.
I like it. BC, we'll talk again, but I always appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
There he is, Brian Christopherson with us here on the Average Joe Sports Show. We'll check back in here momentarily. Back with you here on the Average Joe Sports Show, Road Show edition, as we're still down here, as Clauborne would say, in Missouri. As we'll hear from Clauborne in about an hour. The Friday forecast by the Fairbury, Bill Doleman. Coming up a little bit after 5. Big thanks to Brian Christopherson. Find us on Twitter, AJ Sports Radio. Subscribe and tell a friend about the Average Joe Sports Show on YouTube. Can watch there, hear us on the Average Joe Network, and get your podcast download. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And Skylar checks in here on the stream. Can find us that way. We are on site, remote, so it is stream to communicate, phones. Probably Monday.
Yeah, now, well, we technically could on the weekend edition. Oh, no, we can't on Saturdays. We technically could on like a Sunday.
Okay.
We could, but I think the stream chat's much easier.
Stream's fun.
That being said, we
appreciate all of you jumping in.
This is already, and I said this yesterday, I'll say it again, it's already a mini miracle that we are live.
We still have an hour
from
left.
Kansas City.
Jinx it.
I'm sorry, knock on wood here. But it's a mini miracle that we're on the radio, on the stream. We're giving a podcast here before the end of the night. It's a big thank you to everyone back in Lincoln who's kind of allowed us to be able to pull this off, because it has been nothing short of mental gymnastics for both you and I and a lot of folks around. So I just want to give the shout-outs to the folks back in Lincoln that have helped out with all this.
Absolutely. And big thanks to all of you for coming by the Average Joe tailgate show yesterday, and so many of you popping on.
And if you, the listeners, liked that prediction karaoke we were doing,
tell us what you think.
We could make that a standard at the single barrel.
We can do that as a standard, kind of a receiving line at the single barrel inside the Graduate. We'll be there next Saturday and for sure next Friday, 4 to 6, Roadshow Friday at the single barrel inside the Graduate, corner of 9th and P. Excited. Heath and the crew are having us back again. Skylar asking the question about the offensive line, struggling to protect Raiola when there's 6 or 7 in pass pro. That was problematic. Let's go there, Elijah. I know that's a spot near and dear to your heart. Nebraska's got to do, and they will, figure out what they want to do at tackle. And I haven't dove into the Pro Football Focus grades yet. I didn't see much of an issue, and nobody was perfect, but I didn't see much of an issue on the right side of the line. I thought Teddy was good. I thought Rocco was good. I thought Evans played his ass off. And then you look at the left side of the line, I'm zeroing in on tackle. They've got to decide, and I understand rotation's key. Totally understand that. But you can't keep flipping through your tackles. I know what or means as well. They better settle on somebody at left tackle, or you're going to have more issues with pressure coming at Dylan Raiola. And you saw it affect him when he had time, like every quarterback. When they have time, they'll get through their reads and look incredible. When they get pressured, it gets a little bit hairy. And you saw that last night. You saw some plays. You saw some throws that got Nebraska off rhythm, and it ended up being a situation where they were drive killers, a blitz or a rush or someone winning a one-on-one off the edge. As much bleep as Pritchett took for the offsides, or the false start is a better term, at the half-yard line, you know what? He sprung Emmett quite a few times as he just sealed the edge and murdered people. He was really good in the run. We know that the work in progress part is better as pass pro. Gatula is an option. You saw Turner. So you've got bodies to pick from, but settle on your two for me.
Yeah, and you used a term there, work in progress. That is what I'd call Pritchett. But I mean, we saw the raw talent. The false start was an issue.
You get him right. He is a absolute Sunday beast.
There was a couple pass protection reps that I'm sure he'd want back, but he is a work in progress. He needs time to develop on the field, but I still think from what I saw from a full game point of view, whenever he was out there, I thought the offensive line was operating better. And there's a couple plays that you can circle and point to and say, well, he didn't look very good here. But then if you go watch the plays where he was quiet, which is a good thing if you're an offensive lineman, he was very, very solid. I think as a whole, the biggest issue for Nebraska's offensive line last night was they struggled with Corleone. Corleone was
He's a
man amongst boys, might be a little
first-round
dramatic.
guy.
But, yeah, he looked like a first- or second-round draft pick. I don't think there's going to be many, if any, defensive linemen Nebraska face throughout the course of their season that will be better than what that guy faces in the middle. And what it forced, and I still haven't completed my full rewatch, but I did watch some plays here and there last night.
You were up late watching.
I picked some plays here and there, had the game recorded, and went back through. And Corleone really, whenever he was out there in Cincinnati, brought pressure. It forced Dylan Raiola with that pressure to have his first step be backwards, which you don't love. I thought Raiola at times had happy feet in the pocket last night, but whenever you have a nose guard that is pushing your center and your guard into the quarterback's grill, there's not much you can do as a quarterback besides go backwards and get some happy feet. So that is like there's at one point you have to just tip your cap to the guy, but I think Nebraska also needs to learn from that, and Riley needs to understand, hey, you're not always going to have a clean pocket to throw from. But, man, Corleone was very, very impressive last night. I am not taking that one-game sample size as Nebraska's pass protection is really worrisome, because when Corleone wasn't in the game, they looked very, very solid. But whenever he was in the game and Cincinnati brought pressure, Riley looked flustered. And you need your offense line to be better, but also, man, sometimes you're just going to run into a first-round guy that's going to play in the league for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. And guys have that, and they're rarer and rarer to be and stay at a Cincinnati, because a lot of times you have a guy like Corleone, let's go throw a lot of zeros at him and get him to move on. Kudos to Cincinnati for finding that dude. That tells you how good the talent is in that area.
And if you go back and watch, there was a couple drives last night where Nebraska would have third and mediums near midfield, and their drives would stall. Mm-hmm. Go back and watch who was running off the sideline for Cincinnati on those plays, causing some mayhem in the middle. Cincinnati, pretty tactically, I don't think his conditioning was full season ready to go yet, but whenever Corleone came in, and he did it on a couple third downs where he was spinning the drive on the sideline.
He spent about half the time watching, half the time playing, but he was
they brought him in situationally on some third downs, and he kind of changed what that offensive line could do. So tip your cap. But I think as I look at it, the best five offensive linemen to me are Pritchett at left tackle. Prohashka was impressive at right tackle. I thought Evans, for the most part, looked all right at center. Mm-hmm. There was a couple plays that I am sure that Lutovsky would want back, but generally speaking, I give him a good B- at the left guard spot. Like the offensive line as a whole, they get
they played well enough.
They get a B-, well enough for you to go win a football game.
Mm-hmm. You have Spark Adventure asking the question. We'll pose this to Bill Doleman in a little bit. How do y'all feel about the program moving forward? They're 1-0. And they want a tight ball game. That is progress. They'll try and get the mop out and clean up the aisle, so to speak, here as the season moves forward. Mike says, pretty sure that 78% last night, even missing some. That's pretty good. We're talking about completion percentage, I assume, because it is in the crowd. Dion is here. I like Dion checking in, says saw flashes last night that could be a darn good team with continued hard work. Special teams, one thing vastly improved. Well, that pretty much helped win you the ball game.
I mean, the two biggest questions that have come out of this game are, first off, the defensive line. Can they get better through scheme or just through a couple weeks of looking at the film from game one? Do you change the scheme? Do you just rely on different personnel? They need to get a lot better quick. And the running backs behind Emmett Johnson, can they be – now that they have some game reps under their belt, can they make some strides? Because you make a lot of strides your freshman year or your first time truly getting reps.
All right, we will get wound down here for this first hour on the Average Joe Sports Show from Oakwood.
Shmish, should we keep it live during the breaks or no?
We can.
We're live right now. I mean,
okay, we're live during the breaks.
Do you want to provide some entertainment, or do you want to go grab yourself a...
I was going to go to the can.
I couldn't find... Is it downstairs? I don't know where it is.
Oh, that's right. We are upstairs. I think there's got to be a bathroom up here.
We're going to mute during the break. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
And we're back here rolling through a Friday edition of the Average Joe Sports Show, live from Oakwood Country Club here in Kansas City, an absolutely fantastic spot. Don't ask me how I shot today. I stopped keeping track on the back nine. This course, absolutely no joke. We were playing some of the forward tees, slope rating of 141, so I donated mini golf balls to the woods out here. The play was not great. As Schmidt said earlier, we looked like Nebraska's defensive line with this golf course being Cincinnati's rushing attack. A lot of room for improvement is what this course was for us today. We are talking Nebraska-Cincinnati, Nebraska's performance on a Thursday night. A win's a win, but a lot of room for improvement for the Huskers. Plenty coming your way here in hour 2 of the Average Joe Sports Show. We'll have Bill Doleman joining us on the stream here after the break. We'll also have Clauborne with a full Friday forecast coming your way at about 5:40 Central Time, so plenty more as Schmidt makes his way back here. The stream listeners, they know where he was.
I had to run to the men's room, and closest one was the locker room here at Oakwood, and sweet locker room, man.
Everything here is sweet.
It's phenomenal. This course is a top 100 course in the United States.
Yeah, and I was saying
And
there is a reason.
How many? 7, 8 different types of grass?
They had some sort of fescue. They had Bermuda. They had Kentucky bluegrass. So depending on where you hit it on each hole, it was different types of grass. If you weren't in the fairway here, you were screwed. I have to give another big shout out to.
Or in some instances, even if you did.
Yeah, I have to give a big shout out to Average Joe Trevor for having us out
Yes.
here. This has been an absolutely incredible experience. I said to him, I sure hope this is the hardest golf course I play in my life, because if I play any harder ones than this, it's gonna be rough for my golf game. Gonna be rough for my handicap.
What did old Eric Stratton say in the classic Animal House? I've got to work on my game.
Yeah. That this was the reminder. I'm playing in a golf scramble tomorrow, and I'm hoping today just makes me better as opposed to being a confidence killer. But if any Average Joes out there want to invite us to their country club, feel free. We had a fantastic experience, and we will give you free shout-outs on the air.
By the way, that's so wrong.
Hey, Schmitty, you got to play the cards that you're dealt.
Be careful playing cards.
That's true.
Right? All right. Dave checks in. Dave, good to have you on the stream here with the Average Joe Road Show edition this Friday. All the starters on offense and defense should play one series at the most the next 2 games. Well put, because guess what? And BC hit on it. You need to get your second and third team guys confident, game reps. You get better by playing, not just practicing. And they're going to try and do both here as you lead up to Michigan.
And I especially look at Mosey and Mackay Nelson as being guys that can really benefit from the next 2 games. 30-plus touches for Emmett. It's what you had to do last night. I don't think that's a recipe for success over 12 games this season. I'm sure there will be other games this year where Emmett's just going to have to shoulder the load, and you're going to have to say, hey, go be the starting running back for the University of Nebraska and go play like it. And I think Emmett's got that capability. But these next 2 games, Mosey and Nelson, they need to get a feel for the game. They need a feel for the offense. They need to get a feel for playing at this level. And they have a great, great opportunity here because, let's be honest, Akron and Houston Christian, they're tune-up opponents. That's what you need. And those 2 guys need a tune-up. They don't need a full overhaul. I saw some flashes. I can see why Dana Holgerson likes them, but you got to have that tune-up against these next 2 teams for those 2 guys.
Big-time difference in getting a guy in rhythm and just grinding him down to a little nub because of overuse. But Emmett's wanting it, and you're going to have to ride him this season. Bill Doleman on the way here, hour 2 next. Back with you. It's hour 2 of the Average Joe Sports Show. The road show continues. We're here in the clubhouse at Oakwood Country Club. And we welcome in the pride of Fairbury, the professor, Big Red Insider, the Average Joe OG. It is Bill Doleman, at Bill Doleman on Twitter, as he is flexing right now this holiday weekend with his Guinness. He is probably muted his Van Morrison in the background to do this live hit on the Average Joe Network and the stream with the Average Joe YouTube channel. Bill, you're on a front porch somewhere. Are you down in the Ozarks, dude?
I am. I'm down in the Ozarks, which reminds me a lot. I mean, you can just kind of a little view from the porch here, give you an idea where I'm at. It reminds me a lot of Crystal Springs outside Fairbury, which, you know, people have forever called the Ozarks of Nebraska. So coming down here is a lot like being at home and enjoying the outdoors on a wonderful holiday weekend with my buddies who are down there over by the
I just flexing the top 100 golf course we got to contribute golf balls to today.
Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah. But great to have an Average Joe down there helping you guys out to humble you, but give you a round of golf. Appreciate that.
Love it.
It's more to the show.
Big time. Trevor's awesome, and appreciate him. Thank you. So have you seen Marty Bird?
No, but I drove past Marty Bird's. There's a bar down on the main strip here, and there's a bar, and I had to do a double, triple take that it's Marty Bird's. I got to be honest with you, that show creeped me out. The deeper you got into it, the deeper into the woods they got into it, the creepier that show got. But yeah, I mean, who doesn't come here and think of that now? It's like a metaphor for the Ozarks, the Crystal Springs of Missouri.
It's Marty Bird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
the Ozarks are the Crystal Springs of Missouri.
Okay, so let's continue the name association. We said earlier in hour 1, Oakwood Country Club was the Cincinnati rushing attack. We were the rush defense last night. That's how the course treated us, and away we go. Bill, we had this question earlier in the stream, and this is I'm interested to gauge it. Now you're a game into year 3, not to overreact, but ignore last night.
Isn't that what we always do?
Well, but not to overreact, but ignore last night's game 1 result. You can't ignore the win. You can't ignore some of the warts either. How do you think the program is doing right now? What do you think of the program? And we had that question in the stream. I'm trying to find it to post it for you. But, hey, I think I see progress despite maybe it not looking as crisp or dominant as some Nebraska fans would like. The majority are, listen, you're going to take that win and put it under your arm and run with it. You're absolutely. The style points are beauty contest. Discussion points sailed out the window a long time ago.
You know, I had plenty of time to think about the game like everybody else did, either on their way back from Kansas City or to wherever that you went after the game, or if you were stuck in the parking lot after the game, and just trying to come up with your own beautiful mind equation as to what we saw over the course of the game yesterday. And then when you have all of that on that big board and you've got all the numbers and calculations, it all equals W. So the bottom line for Nebraska is that it won a game that for the past 10, 15 years, it was not winning. Although we started to see toward the end, like, oh my God, it's going to happen again. And it's going to happen with a team that can't pass the ball, and they're just going to run it right at you. They were averaging 8 yards per carry in the second half. They were going to have to go 91 yards with 2 minutes to go or less, and you thought all they got to do is run it. And they were doing that, and they got in field goal range, and inexplicably, they took a shot in the end zone, and Malcolm Hartzog made the play. But there were so many, parts of that equation last night where you'd go, well, that's the reason why this is going to end up being L. The false start on 1st and goal from the 1. Typically, that's a play where you go back. That's why you lost the game 24-20 or whatever it would have been. But they won. In retrospect, it wasn't a pretty way to win. I don't think it's what people really expected, but it was week 1. There was a lot of ugly football in week 1, and Nebraska said they watched week 0 games and saw how ugly those were. So I hope you learned from it. Yep, they learned how to do it. They learned how to win an ugly football game. Now you've got 2 games. Are you going to get better playing Akron and Houston Christian? I hope so. But your next test comes against Michigan, who probably watched the second half of that game and said, we don't have our coach for that game. So let's keep a simple playbook and let's just run the ball straight up the gut at that defensive line and see if we can't get 5 to 8 yards a pop. If we can't do it in the first half, that defensive line is going to wear down enough. They don't appear as though they're in great strength condition-wise that they can stop the run right now. Can they develop that by the time September 20th rolls around? I don't know, but I'm not as confident that Nebraska is going to beat Michigan as I was 48 hours ago.
Do you have any sort of confidence that comes from the fact that Nebraska, in a tight ball game when the momentum was against them, was able to go and make a winning play? It's been a long time since we've seen Nebraska. Whenever everyone in the stadium goes, oh man, I've seen this story before. I know how this story is going to end. Then
right.
Nebraska flips the script and they go make a play to win. Does that give you any sort of confidence for the season? Not just specifically the Michigan game, but the season as a whole, that maybe things can be a little bit different?
In part because a senior went out and made a play, right? Malcolm Hartzog, look, he's not a great cornerback, but when they moved him to safety last year, they thought that that's the best position for him. And it turns out it has been the best position for him. And he's got good football instincts. He's got great football toughness. He just does not have great size to play corner, but he instinctively knew he had the experience to go out and make the play that he made when he had to go make it. And he squeezed that ball hard with his elbow so that it didn't hit the ground. That's one of the things that was lost, is the way he caught that ball. But I think that Nebraska has some good experienced players that can make plays when they have to do that. So, but look, they got to get better up front and defensively. You can't be relying on that secondary to always make plays for you. You're not going to run into as inept of passing attacks as Cincinnati has. So, look, they won the game. Time to learn and time to go 3-0 and get better before Michigan rolls around.
It says a lot about what the last 5 years has been, that my first thought when I saw Malcolm Hartzog make that play was, wait, let's watch the replay. I'm sure there was some way he managed to have that thing hit the ground, and Cincinnati's actually going to keep the football, and they're going to go on to win. That was my first thought, was let's wait and see the replay first before we count our chickens here.
That was a hell of a play, though. It really was. And it was great coverage. I mean, I'm watching that play from the 9th floor of the press box, and you see it develop. And that's why I love watching games like that, because you see the entire field. And the guy could have he got the position to make the catch, and Hartzog closed hard. He reacted well. That was an experienced play by a defensive playmaker, and he's made plays for Nebraska over the years. He's just not the right size to play cornerback, but good on him. And I know that they were motivated by what happened to Janiron Bonner, and they talked about that, and they got the win. That's the main thing, but Nebraska's got some work to do.
If you could boil it down, what was the difference for Nebraska? I mean, there's not a lot of games out there where you let a team rush for 200 yards on you and you're still able to go out and win the football game. What was the difference in your eyes? Why was Nebraska the victor last night?
That's a really good question. That's special teams, for one, other than in the return game. But look, Nebraska's special teams have been an area where when you have a problem offensively or defensively, you're not getting picked up by special teams that flips the field. Archie Wilson flipped the field, and he didn't have a lot of yards punting. I think his average was like 34 yards a kick or something, but 3 inside the 20 and 2 inside the 10, including one at a key moment in the last 2 minutes of the game. And then you've got a 52-yard field goal by Cunanan, and there was no drama on extra points. The snaps were good. I think one of the absolute keys to Nebraska's win last night was the fact that special teams, except for the return game, but special teams did not cost you. So a mistake or here or there in offense or defense, like your 5-yard penalty, first and goal, that's going to stick with me for a long time. But special teams did not cost you. They helped you yesterday. And if you can rely on them, rely on the special teams units throughout the season, that's going to keep you in games and not cost you games.
Well, when we said during the offseason that Coach Eckler would get you a win, 2, maybe 3, was last night the first win that you can talk about,
absolutely.
Coach Eckler?
I would say yes. Because, look, last year, Nebraska's moving the ball early on in the game. I know it was a 56-7 blowout, but early on, it's still close. And Nebraska's got the ball at the 20 or the 30, and you have no confidence that you can kick a 35 or a 40-yard field goal. That's inexcusable in today's game, right? You've got pro guys kicking 70-yarders. You should have somebody in this country that can kick you with consistency 30 to 40-yard field goals that you don't have to go for it inexplicably on fourth down because there's zero confidence. Last night, you've got a 52-yard attempt. Let's put him out there and see what he can do, and he did it. There were key moments in the game on fourth down where Nebraska probably would have gone for it, although Buschini was good. I'm not going to take anything away from Brian Buschini. But Archie Wilson's ability to place the ball was a weapon. We've heard it was, and he came through and he delivered. So the Cunanan field goal gives Nebraska confidence going forward that if we get within 55, we're going to give it a shot. Go back to Indiana. Inside 35, nope, we can't do it. Let's go for it on 4th and 8.
Bill Doleman with us on the Average Joe Sports Show. Bill hanging out with Marty Bird down in the Ozarks.
I'm on the land.
He's cleaning. As we are here at Oakwood Country Club here just outside of Kansas City. Just a really good weekend of road shows, and we appreciate all of you tuning in for Husker coverage. Bill, I love this chat that's going on in the stream on the topic of Sorsby. Nebraska's got other quarterbacks on the docket. Maeva, Aller, Nico, just to name a few, whoever, Underwood at Michigan, right? What do you think of Sorsby? And what do you think of Cincinnati? I mean, let's zoom out. Are they flirting with 8? Are they flirting with contention in the Big 12? Are they hoping to make a bowl?
I think it's a bowl team. I think their defense is actually pretty good. I was impressed by their physicality. Our buddy Brandon Vogel's got that great stat that any time that he runs for over 40 yards, they lose.
Let him bust off a 40-yarder to start the game and call her good.
Yeah, I mean, so anybody that looks at Nebraska's film is going to say, don't let the quarterback, break out. They don't have a passing game. He can't throw the football. But yeah, I think that's a team that has the potential to finish, 5 to 10 in the Big 12, I suppose. I think that was a great first test for Nebraska. It was better than playing UTEP in Northern Iowa in your first 2 games and looking lackluster. You beat a team from the Big 12. Just because they're not Ohio State in the state of Ohio doesn't mean that they don't have great high school players in the region to choose from. I can remember many years ago when we were doing the KFOR pregame show and Nebraska had Troy come to town, and we had the with Ken Shimmick, and we had the Troy athletic director came on, to our show, the Troy State athletic director, and he said, just because we got guys that couldn't get into Alabama or Auburn doesn't mean they couldn't play at Alabama or Auburn. And I'm not diminishing the academic credentials of those at the University of Cincinnati. What I'm saying is they do have some athletes, right? And not the elite of the elite, are going to go to Ohio State or Penn State or something like that. So I think to a certain extent, Nebraska should be very satisfied that they beat a decent, probably, like I said, upper division potential finisher in the Big 12, not the bottom of the barrel team in the Big 12.
The reality is this: Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame can't get everybody from the state of Ohio.
Right.
Or
Just like
Cincinnati,
Nebraska doesn't get everybody either from the state of Nebraska.
or from Moeller High. I mean, Cincinnati's been a launching pad for a lot of coaches.
Well, Miami doesn't get everyone out of Miami. I mean, there's whenever you're in those hotbed areas, there is talent.
You just got to be right with who you keep and who you don't. And
The
right
best
now-
thing for Cincinnati's program would be to keep a coach. They've had some
well,
pretty
they all-
good coaches over the years, and they used to talk about Miami of Ohio being the cradle of coaches. I think if you look at the lineage that's been at Cincinnati over the years, if somebody just stick around for a while, they had Rick Minter was there, and Brian
Freeman
Kelly
as
was
their
there.
defensive coordinator.
Yeah, you had Freeman. You had after Kelly, you had Luke Fickle, Tommy Tuberville. I mean, imagine if somebody
that
would
was
stick.
a whiff.
But if somebody would just stick around Cincinnati, maybe you've got the potential to build one of those urban institutions like in Miami or something, and build it in the example of a Big Ten type school that could be competitive. However long they're going to be in the Big 12, because who knows what college football is going to look like in 2030. But anybody who would commit there could probably have some long-term success and create a program that would be an upper division conference team year after year.
It's Bill Doleman, Pride of Fairbury. Bill, we will check in manana with the weekend edition.
Yeah, I might be up. We'll
All
see.
right. Well,
Yeah,
we-
eventually I'll be out there.
We may be as well. Hang tight and
Bill, live from the poppy fields in
yes,
the Ozarks.
wow. Who is the crazy old gal?
The wife?
Darlene.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay the hell away from Darlene.
Yeah, creepy show. Great show, creepy show. They probably said the same thing about us, but anyway.
All right. Bill Doleman, Pride of Fairbury. Billy D, thank you much, brother.
See you, boys.
And as we keep it live here for a second,
do it.
we do have an important question here from one Marcus Schmidt.
Oh, Uncle Mark. I don't
We didn't
I don't
tally up.
know.
I mean, there was probably 5 holes that I did not even
There
put
were
a score down on the back
There were
nine.
7 to 8s to 9s. I mean, it was Uncle Mark. It was vicious.
Neither of us had a single par today.
You want to send Uncle Mark a link?
Should we?
Yeah, let's send Uncle Mark a
I
link.
think I'll need an email from him.
I got it for you. Let's get Uncle Mark on and get Uncle Mark's take on the game. Uncle Mark, if you're in the stream, we always do a fall football hit with Uncle Mark. He's either in New York checking out the Rangers or at a Rangers playoff game. So maybe Uncle Mark can give us his 2 cents on it.
He says that's a no on the Breaking 120.
I don't know because they
We have the scorecard in the truck. We'll tally up after the show.
You thought you did. I took a lighter to that bastard. No, I don't know because we were, wagering on the golf course, and the crew we were with asked us our handicap, and I just said I have, asthma. But oh, you mean golf? Yeah, because we got a guy who shot 4 under here. And this is a U.S. amateur qualifying
Yeah,
course.
I think we had a former Nebraska amateur champion playing among the 12 we were with today.
Yes.
So
So how we got invited, God love the Husker football coverage.
what your handicap is, and I said asthma. That's too good.
All right, let me find Dolman. You want to stick around for a little, behind the scenes here? Uncle Mark's giving me hell about what I shot.
Oh, I was enjoying reading the chat. I mean, guys are active today.
Everyone's hitting.
You should send everybody onto the chat a link. What the hell?
We can do Hollywood Squares. We do Hollywood Squares or prediction karaoke like we did last night. That was hilarious.
I love our chat group. That's pretty good.
Oh, they're the best in the business.
Well,
man.
Bill, we're coming back from this break here in about 10 seconds. If you just want to stick around for a bit.
What do I got to do?
Okay.
I'm on vacation.
Launder
Sure.
money.
What the heck? I'll stick around.
We'll see if Uncle Mark, because I think he's still down here in Kansas City.
Well, we're going live here. Ready?
Okay. Back into it. The Average Joe Roadshow continues here from Oakwood Country Club as we're down here just outside Kansas City. Bill Doleman sticking around. We may bring Uncle Mark in, Ferris Financial, and see how he's doing. Uncle Mark was punching me in the face about how I shot today. Legit, I probably went through 3 sleeves of golf balls. And I mean, you know me, Elijah. I acknowledge I'm garbage at golf. I can have a good couple of holes. I can have a good couple of swings as part of a hole.
At times, you're garbage driving a golf cart.
Well, that's true. Wow.
I did give him the warning before we started to keep all hands and feet in the cart for the duration of the ride.
Well, here's the thing: the golf carts here at Oakwood. They
got some
bark
zip.
They're go-karts, but they bark at you if you're over a speed limit because Andretti over here.
I got it up to 14 miles per hour.
But he's doing it around twists and turns. If you've ever been, Corey Oaks, right? Awesome course back in Nebraska. I mean, you know how windy those roads are. That's times 10 here. If you've played Firethorn. And that absolutely bludgeons you. This was 10 times Firethorn.
I mean, if you're familiar with golf, the slope rating from the forward tees, which we were playing, was 141, which I think average is somewhere around 100, like 105 or something like that. So, yeah, it was it took us behind the woodshed and beat us to a bloody pulp.
Again.
Why didn't you play from what they call nowadays the big red tees?
Because when you're invited to play, you don't object because you're never ever going to get asked to come back here again.
Or just hit from the reds.
Yeah.
Just call them the reds.
The Marlboro tees, Dolman. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. Look, great experience. It's wonderful when you get a chance to play a course like that. I used to get a chance when I was in Houston to play the course where they would play the Shell Houston Open because I hosted the golf shows down there. And every year they would groom the course to be like Augusta as much as it possibly could be because Augusta was the following week. And they would let some people go on and play. And when you play a course like that is, as you said, a U.S. qualifying course, you are humbled and you grow a great appreciation for those, not even with single-digit handicaps, but with negative handicaps. And I certainly have lots of handicaps on a golf course like that. But it's still a great experience, and you appreciate those who can do it extremely well. I will say that.
We're going to see if we – well, okay, so you got to play the show. Oh, there he is. Okay, you got it sent already. Why are you busting my chops, Uncle Mark? First and foremost, Uncle Mark, good to have you in, bud. How you doing?
No, we're doing great today, man.
Yeah,
I still have a little bit of a voice.
Yeah, were you screaming at the team, or were you screaming at other people?
I screamed at the false start on first and goal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Screamed at the guy behind us that was telling the defense we needed to stop them, as if they didn't know. And then I screamed when we won a game that we would have lost the last 2 years.
Okay.
10 years.
Yeah, the last 10 years.
That's good. Why? What
Yeah.
would you're you're tall, you're athletic, you're smart, all those good things. It's like the movie Twins. I'm DeVito and he's Arnold.
Why are you buttering him up like this right now?
Yeah, this feels great.
I can't.
You're tall, athletic, handsome,
Yeah.
smart.
I can't beat him in golf unless I hit him with the cart and then we play.
Break the ankle.
Right. But you're giving me hell here about did I break 120? I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, if you know, you know. I mean,
I didn't keep score. They asked me and they figured in my handicap beyond the asthma.
I will say, I think both. Well, I know I didn't break 120. Schmidt could have been anywhere between 116 and 130, and I wouldn't be surprised. There's a chance he could have broken 120, but we're somewhere in there. I shouldn't say we.
I
He's
was
somewhere
like,
in there.
when you said that line about the asthma, I broke out laughing in our hotel room, and Mel came out. She's like, "What are you laughing about?" So I told her what you said, and like she laughed out loud. So that was freaking funny.
Okay, I love you, but can we put Aunt Mel on? Can we look at her?
Yeah, come here.
All right. We're going to bring
She's
Aunt
got a
Mel
hot
on.
take on the game, probably.
I'm sure she does. Where you guys at? Hey, Aunt Mel, how we doing?
We're at the AC Hotel downtown. We just got back from Power and Light. We were having some fun down there. We're going to head to the Royals game here in about 30 minutes.
You know, you get a zip up this year, or a hoodie or something.
Well, if we're in the right section, I don't know if we're in the right section.
Okay. Can you grab Bill a hoodie and Elijah a hoodie?
If we get them, there's 4 in our group that have no interest in wearing them, so we will have 4 extras.
They're yours
Yep.
for sure.
Well,
Bank
don't
on it.
wear but I mean, you
And if
guys-
we get a Bobby Witt bobblehead, we'll have a couple up for sale too.
I know you will. You're going to turn and burn that thing. You're going to be taking them from little kids, just like, you know, it's not the foul balls anymore. You're going to be scoping out what little guy said is the Bobby Witt bobblehead down and just tuck and run and put this in
Yeah,
your bag.
if I can get 20 for them, they'll get 10 for them.
That's pretty good.
How
Steve
many-
Schmidt
many
at
Husker-
his finest.
How many Husker fans do you think will play the doubleheader last night and tonight? Do you think there'll be 50,000 people at the game tonight, and will they all be in
No, I think
Royal
I
Waggy?
think
They're all
30.
Getting
30.
blood transfusions.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 o'clock's the
There
late
was some-
game.
Yeah, there were some pictures of the traffic headed back north that looked pretty brutal, so I'd say 30. 30 will be at the game tonight.
They'll be happy with that.
The Rangers are chasing the Royals here for the wild cards. We're going to be Tigers fans tonight for sure.
Well, your ace for the Rangers is done. That's no good.
We don't need to talk negatively about the Rangers. We're thinking positive thoughts here.
As you think positive thoughts here, what are your positive takeaways from last night's football game?
So we got a quarterback that completed 80% with no turnovers and 2 touchdowns. We got a running back that had 32 touches, over 100 yards rushing. We had a defense that held him to 69 yards passing.
Nice.
No 100-yard rusher on the other team. And we won a game that we would have lost. It's got to be progress, doesn't it?
Big time progress.
I think.
I mean, we
think,
didn't
it's
cover.
It's significant. I got to thinking about Emmett Johnson. Those were tough earned yards last night. He didn't have a lot of big. I think his couple of a 13 and a 16 yard, but to have 32 touches and 75 snaps or something like that, and over a third of the snaps in the game, in pass in the running game, and he didn't put the ball on the carpet. And how many times have we watched Nebraska have backs with a ton of promise that drop the ball and end up on the bench? Was it Anthony Grant at Minnesota
Yep.
with that costly fumble at the end of the game that cost them a win up there? Dowdell, as hard a rusher as he was, every now and then he'd put the ball on the carpet, then he'd be on the bench, but they had to have him back out there because he was such a punishing runner, but he would drop the ball when he would punish somebody. But to have 32 touches in the season opener like that, I've been a big Emmett Johnson fan for a long time. That may have been maybe the most impressive thing was that he didn't drop the ball. He didn't put it. Nebraska had no turnovers last night. Impressive.
I'm concerned at the
Their
running
ball
back
security
depth.
was good.
Yeah. Ball security was great. The other 2 running backs didn't look like they could get upfield very quickly. It was a little bit of a concern. That play to Mosey where he could have got outside and cut up, he didn't look like he could plant and go. Nelson kind of went down pretty easy. Lindermeyer looked great. We didn't throw any passes farther than 10 yards down the field.
Hard to do against that secondary when it comes to the defensive
Maybe.
scheme.
Del Rake's 44's in the house over here if you want some other insight.
We're on radio too, so no fireable insight language wise.
Yeah, we can't shoot any F-bombs here, but Del Rakes 44 making a
we've got an
post-game appearance.
all-state Lincoln Southeast fullback in the house. I love
Right.
it. It's good.
He was ready to come open the gates for you last night. If you saw that on Facebook,
I was ready.
That was bad. I needed you and Rathman to go inverted wishbone and go hammer it because we're sitting in that
3-point
line
stance.
for 2.5 yards.
Belly option on 2-on-2.
Give me, yeah, that's about right. That's about right. So you're going to the ball game tonight. Are you going to go eat somewhere, Uncle Mark? Are you going to eat at the ball game, or what are we doing?
I think we're going to probably grab a dog at the game and maybe some barbecue.
Okay.
Probably bet the overs so we can cheer for some home runs and let's
We'll
go.
be betting the overs
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah,
It's 9. We like it. I like the
yeah.
over.
Okay.
Uncle Mark likes
what-
the under for
what's
some reason.
great though is Bill. I mean, from a financial advising standpoint, this is gold.
This is financial advice.
Hashtag not financial advice.
Yeah.
Very clearly not financial advice.
I need to text Mark real quick.
We might have multiple clients here on this stream, so no, not financial advice.
We got to make this a regular segment. It's instead of the
Yeah.
prediction edition, it's the financial advice segment with Marcus Schmidt.
I love it.
Yeah.
Uncle Mark chimes in ahead of the forecast. Well, you guys have a good time.
Compliance is on the other line.
Don't answer. It's all right.
We will have a good time.
All right. Be
Go
safe,
Big Red, we're
everybody.
1-0.
See you, man. All right. There
All
it
right.
is. That's Uncle Mark and Dell. Aunt Mel making an appearance. The Pride of Fairbury hanging out with Marty Bird. Clauborne is in the green room. We can dispel this all once and for all now. See? You have Bill Doleman. You have Clauborne.
Oh, we haven't heard from Clauborne yet. And
It's Bill Doleman ejects here. That's pretty good. Claus, you with us?
I am now, yeah.
Claus, hang tight. We got to hit a break, and then we'll come back, partner, with some forecasts. You okay with that?
Okay.
All right. Clauborne is in the green room. Bill Doleman is off to hang out with Marty Bird. And we're here on the road, a Friday edition. The Average Joe Road Show continues. Oakwood Country Club here just outside Kansas City, established in 1881. Gorgeous facility. This course built in 1923, so it's really a top 100 course in the country. Klaus on the way next. Back with you here on the Average Joe Sports Show, Road Show Friday, Oakwood Country Club. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. He is imaginary. He wears red. He gave us a money prediction on Nebraska last night. He called for the win. And we say hi to Clauborne with us here to talk Friday forecast. Big slate of games to kick off the year in week one. Claus, you doing okay after last night's drama?
Well, I certainly enjoyed the final play of the game. Well, it wasn't the final play, but pretty close to the final play. So much so that the pants I'm wearing are still in the washer. And I do want to say, I agree with Uncle Mark. Life is too short to bet the unders. Now, I think I picked for us to hit the unders last night. But again, I had many, many, many Shastas before we got on the air. So keep that in mind. We got to bet the overs. Let's see some scoring.
Do you worry that all those Shastas maybe impacted your ability to be able to analyze this game with us here today?
Well, not really, because I think had I not had them, I wouldn't have been able to stay up to the end of that one. An 8 p.m. Central kickoff is pretty late for a timeless old man such as myself.
Yeah, that is one thing. 8 o'clock kickoff. I don't know. I thought I liked the
We got
concept
to
of
halftime at 10:15. At least the second half flew a little bit.
I thought the concept of Big Ten After Dark was more fun when it's another team playing, not your team playing.
Almost made me miss Johnny Carson. So, but I will say, last night there were some encouraging things. I thought Dylan had some nice touch. And I thought Lindemeyer and EJ showed an incredible ability to fall forward and just not be brought down. I mean, quite honestly, it's harder to get them down than it is a woman right after you marry her. So it was a fun thing to see.
Claus, let's get into some picks. How's that sound?
Okay.
Bama at Florida State, roll Tide -14.5 at Tallahassee. Florida State is reeling right now. 2-10 last season. That went all sorts of sideways for them in Dublin, and they never recovered. And that's after a nuke was dropped on them by Georgia. And listen, Bama, there's a lot of pressure on Kalen DeBoer. Hell of a great coach, but there's zero patience there in Alabama with 6 titles cranked out in about 17 years. What happens? I'll just say that I think Bama wins. I think Florida State puts up a little bit of a fight, but too much Bama. Give me the Tide 24-13, a win but not a cover. A win but not a cover for Florida State.
For as much as I look at this Florida State team with doubt, something about this Bama venture under DeBoer, I need to wait and see it before I'm willing to go all in on them. 14.5 points is a lot. It's a lot of points. I think this is going to be a ball game for all 4 quarters. Florida State has a chip on their shoulder for how last season went. They have some new tricks up their sleeve, especially with Tony White, the defensive coordinator. Alabama's breaking in a new quarterback. They're not going to have their starting running back. I still think Alabama wins this football game. I think they have more talent on the field, and I think they're probably further ahead being year 2 under DeBoer, where Florida State made some wholesale changes last year. But I think Florida State hangs around. I think this is a 28-24 ball game. I think it's going to be a close game throughout.
Okay. So you are going Bama, but you're going with Florida State cover.
Yep.
Claus, what happens? What do you think about Bama? What do you think about Florida State?
Well, now I am starting to think I had one too many Shastas because I agree with both of you guys. I think 14.5 is entirely too much. I think Florida State's defense will show up pretty well. But I think at the end of the day, much like John Anderson back in the 80s, if they wander into the swamp and set upon a cypress stump, you're going to hear the ghost of Osceola cry. Florida State falls to Bama 24 and the Seminoles 17.
LSU Clemson, the battle, 2 of the top quarterbacks in the country. LSU working on an 0-3 in their openers. Their last 3, that's if they lose in Death Valley. Also the battle for Death Valley. Clemson's been built. They've been primed. They are ready. They are incredible on defense, supposed to be anyway, with Klubnik and some weapons. I just think Clemson's got too much. Line's 4.5. Give me Clemson here, 24-17. So the hook gets it done for LSU, but Clemson wins. What do you say, Elijah?
I look at this one. I watched the SEC documentary on Netflix. It made me really dislike Brian Kelly, so I do have a little bit of a bias here. He seemed fake. Wasn't a huge fan of what he put out there. But I also think Clemson's one of the top 4 most talented teams in America. I like their quarterback, Klubnik, more than I like Nussmeier, and I'd love to see Brian Kelly punch a table at the end of this football game during the post-game press conference. So give me Clemson winning this football game 31 and LSU 24.
Claus, what say you? Who's the real Death Valley?
Well, I was just about to say the only hype I've really seen for this one has been the fans going back and forth on social media about who is the real Death Valley. And as far as I know, Dabo Swinney has never had that issue. So let's take Clemson in this one.
Wow.
I think they win 28 and LSU 17.
Okay.
My dear Lord. That was slipped in there. Oh, no. We go to Notre Dame, Miami. Oh, that was good. Notre Dame.
That was low blow.
Notre Dame at Miami. Give me the Irish, man. I like Coach Freeman. I don't dislike Cristobal, but Miami just seems to never get it done. Notre Dame's already turned a corner post Brian Kelly. And I just think the Irish are going to get off on the right foot. Give me the Irish 21-17 over the Hurricanes. What do you say, Elijah?
Yeah, you said you don't dislike Mario Cristobal. I do dislike Mario Cristobal. I dislike Miami as a whole. I think Carson Beck is overrated. I think Jeremiah Love is probably the best running back in America. I think he can probably go off for 150 yards tomorrow. I have Notre Dame winning this game pretty handily. Give me Notre Dame 27 and Miami 14.
All right. Claus, what say you, Miami or Notre Dame?
Well, first of all, Ken, in the stream, yes, they do still make Shasta, and even if they didn't, understand, I've got quite a bit of pull. And once again, I agree with Elijah. I think Carson Beck showed last year that he's really not that good a quarterback, despite what you hear from the talking heads on ESEC, ESPN. I think he couldn't hack it in a down league, and then he went to Miami. Let's face it, he was trying to hook up with those twins. Now he says that he's trying to. Now that he says he's trying to develop the same way Cam Ward did, but let me tell you something: the termites are choking on the splinter because Beck is a loser, baby. Notre Dame 28 and Miami 10.
Claus, that was glorious.
I didn't know Claus knew rock music like that. I thought you stuck with like 1950s jazz.
No, Claus.
I'm mostly a Benny Goodman guy, but every so often one of the players would bring someone in that newfangled Nirvana or what have you, and I'd be forced to listen to it. So,
Claus, hang tight. We're up against it. We need to do the Texas and Ohio State pick on the way. Barry Switzer has wished best of luck to a Texas quarterback for the first time in his life this week. A quick timeout. The forecast winds down here with the Average Joes. Back with you, winding down the Average Joe Friday Road Show. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Big thanks to Bill Doleman and Brian Christopherson for joining us. Uncle Mark making an appearance. Clauborne continuing the Friday forecast. Big shout out again to the good folks here at the country club just outside of Kansas City. Oakwood is just prestigious. It's a beautiful golf course, and it is a vicious golf course. And I mean that in a very complimentary way. Very tough, but very scenic, very beautiful. And big thanks to our dear Average Joe Trevor for getting this hooked up. Claus, let's get to the shoe. Texas, Ohio State, -1.5 Buckeyes. Brother, I think this is all Texas. I think Ohio State has a nice level of talent, but this will be a tough one for him. It's a tough assignment for Arch Manning, but Texas has a little revenge on their mind for last year's playoff loss. Probably a better quarterback behind center, and give me the Longhorns 27-24. They win for the first time in the shoe since 2005, and a guy named Vince Young. What do you say, Elijah?
Oh, to me, I am really struggling. The home field advantage.
You're rooting for a meteor tomorrow?
Yeah, the home field advantage that Ohio State has is a little bit hard to quantify. I think Texas has more experience. I think Texas probably has a little bit more talent. Julian Sayian's an unknown, but they're going into the shoe in a game that, I mean, it's going to be raucous. It's going to be Ohio State's first game back home since winning a national championship. That's hard to quantify, but I think just based on the talent on the field, this is a neutral site, and you have an even number of teams, or an even number of fans from each fan base that are there. I'm rolling with the Texas Longhorns probably. So I think I'm going to discount the home field advantage of Ohio State, and I'm going to take Texas winning this football game in a slightly lower scoring affair. Give me Texas 24, Ohio State 21.
Okay. Claus, what say you? Who wins it? Ohio State or Texas?
Well, first of all, did you say Barry Switzer, noted head coach of Oklahoma, wished Arch Manning of the Texas Longhorns best of luck?
Send him a text, yes.
Goodness, something has changed in Barry. By the way, in that documentary, I don't know if you caught his story about him and his mother, but good night. That guy didn't bring a tear to my eye like that since November 21st of 1987. What a powerful moment. But on to this game. Gosh darn it, I agree with Elijah again. I know people have been really hyping up Arch Manning and saying that based on one game they've seen him and his last name, he's a Heisman frontrunner and probably has Jarrah angling to draft him and then screw up his contract in 4 years and trade him to the Saints for a bucket of Miller High Life and a vintage New Orleans Baby Cakes T-shirt. But I think the Ohio State home field advantage is just too much, and I think they win this one. Probably something late in the ball game happens, and the Buckeyes get it 27 and Texas 21.
That is good. Claus, he's imaginary. He wears red. It's the Average Joe Sports Show Friday forecast. Claus, enjoy your football weekend, and we'll get back at you next Friday from the Single Barrel.
Sounds good. I did see you tense up when I started mentioning Barry. Don't worry, Barry's all good in our book. We'll see you next week.
All right, there he is, Claus with us. Big thanks to the great folks here at Oakwood Country Club. And back in studio Monday. See ya.